Yeah, that's it. Shit's getting spooky. Shit's getting spooky. Hello. Welcome back. We're chatting. My name is Zen Kumari Lee, or O, and I am an ex-athlete, a forever creator, and a forever living being. So let's just dive into this, okay? So we gotta talk about today's world, 2025.
Oh my God, what is that? Oh my God, what is that?
Where do we even start? I don't know what the hell is going on anymore. Do you know what's going on? Hey, do you know what's going on? Like, what the hell? So the first things first, what they don't want you to know is the world is way more complex than we give it credit for on a day-to-day basis. That's the first thing.
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain. This is the world that you know. The world as it was at the end of the 20th century. It exists now only as part of a neural interactive simulation that we call the Matrix.
The second thing is, although we are living in a Neolithic world, there is still the very much so omnipresence of middle world, old world, golden age world, things going on here. There's magic.
Did you know that witchcraft and magic is in the Bible? Yeah, the same Bible that condemns it. By the end of this video, you'll understand its secret power and why the church is absolutely terrified of it. First, the Magi who visited baby Jesus, they were astrologers and magicians from the East. The very people Christians now call evil. But guess what? The Bible calls them wise men. Then there's King Saul. When he's desperate for answers, who does he call? Not God, but the witch of Endor. Yeah, a witch. She summons the prophet Samuel from the dead, and it works. Why would God's chosen one call up a witch? And then what about Simon the sorcerer? He was a magician in Samaria who was so powerful that people called him the great power of God. Yet today, he's branded as the first Antichrist. The Bible condemns magic, even saying you must not allow a witch to live. So why is the church so afraid of them? Because while Christianity is about condemning your inner darkness to have a relationship with God, magic teaches you to embrace that darkness, transform it into light, and awaken the God within you.
There's darkness, there's evil, okay? There's goodness, there's miracles. There are evolutions happening, new life emerging, species we've never seen before, unprecedented times, and things that are repeating in history that are not that hard to pinpoint.
And some of the cases we're talking about would be ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore. That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country on a vacation. This was, in fact, it was the same date, the exact same date, the end of the Civil War. It was meant for the babies of slaves, and it's so clean and so obvious. But this lets us go there and finally win that case, because hundreds of thousands of people are pouring into our country under birthright citizenship, and it wasn't meant for that reason.
If I'm being for real, some of us just got to crack open a book or just dig back into our memory of what we learned in school. Well, what do we have here? A mess, if I've ever seen one. Well, I will say one thing. A few years ago, I've been trying to get you guys hip to what's really going on in our world, because too many of us are walking around like zombies, absent-minded, NPC'd out, and clearly unfamiliar about the world and the realm that you are currently living in. It is not as basic as it seems. It's not as confusing as it seems. It's not as simple as it may seem, and you were quite frankly not taught everything there is to know about living as a human in today's world.
Gorgeous. You made it all yourself?
I mean, more or less. I wasn't.
It's very pretty.
Thank you.
You know, the current word from upstairs is that we'll be shutting this all down again in about 6,000 years.
That's nothing. What's the point in creating an infinite universe with trillions of star systems if you're only going to let it run for a few thousand years? The engine won't probably warmed up by then.
So, where can one truly begin? let's see. There's so much going on, let's be for real. Y'all, I'm gonna be real with you. I've been ducked off. That's how I live my life. I don't necessarily acknowledge time unless it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I have something to do on this day at this time, or I have money to make, or I have a schedule to adhere to. I don't acknowledge time unless it's absolutely necessary for me to do so. Why? Because that's a story for another day. So I'll tell you another day. You know, if you've been following me, you would know that I just went on a trip to Belize, and I learned so much on that trip. But one of the main things I learned is something that's gonna save me so much time and energy. And if you wanna see what that is, check that video out because I will have it posted around the time that I post this. Okay, so what's going on in the world, child? Where do we start? I'm gonna just go in the order in which I have this list because this is ridiculous. So, the White House, Don. So, a while ago, I went on Instagram and I was like, okay, let me know, guys. I think it was Instagram. It could have been the community posts here, but I basically was like, guys, if you want to know why I was like somewhat pro-Trump when it was time for elections, like, let me tell you why. Keep in mind though, I did not vote. So before you get to judging, before you get to coming at me ready to tussle, I did not vote. I didn't, okay? Actually occurred was I just kind of already had a prophecy that I had received years ago about this election, about this time of life, and I just knew that there would be a lot of history repeating itself due to different astrological changes in our celestial world. But aside from that, I kind of just felt like, okay, let's keep it a beam. If Donald Trump is on the ballot and he is a known criminal and there has to be something going on. Like, the world, the way that it functions, you guys, I'm sorry to bust your bubble, but things don't just happen just like willy-nilly, not all the time. Like, some things that occur in life are completely natural, and I believe that they are divinely orchestrated to happen in our world. I mean, it just goes like that, right? We can't control every little thing, even though there are groups of people and institutions that are dedicated to orchestrating the world in a very meticulous way. So these people are the people who have governed our world for so long. If not ran it outright, they have been the outworkings or the framework, so to speak, of society and how we function as a whole. And it's so that we can guide humanity in a certain way and allow life to evolve in a more intelligent way, if that's making sense to you. It's supposed to be for the purpose of living a more enlightened existence that reflects the intelligence that we hold as human beings. So it makes sense, but sometimes I think that a lot of things that are going on are a little too secret, a little too affected by people who are not as enlightened as they think they are, people who like to take power that doesn't necessarily belong to them or shouldn't necessarily lie in their hands. Now, in the US, I'm going to stick to the US. You know, I always stick to talking about the US because that's where I'm from, that's where I am, and that's what I have the most experience and knowledge about. Okay, so here's the thing, right? It was going to be time for a revolution for our planet Earth at this time. There was some type, I'm going to try to look it up, guys. Please don't come biting my head off because I'm not exactly an astrologist, but there was an occurrence that happened that basically happens every maybe 100 years or something like that. And if I find it, I'm just going to plug it in. But if I don't, all I can say is that this was a time when we basically come up on another revolution kind of vibe for our country, for the world. This is a time when a lot of rebellion will be going on, a lot of things will be challenged in today's world, and it's just kind of karmically meant to occur within our lifespan at this time. And we were meant to live it, we were meant to see it. And these people who kind of like have this structure going on that kind of like shapes our world, they know this stuff, right? So they have to try to set up the stage or the board so that it helps kind of like nudge us in that direction. And some of the other things that happen are just up to us. It's like a chess game that we're playing with the world around us, and we had no idea we were playing this game, but we indeed are.
Queen to e5. That's totally barbaric. That's wizard's chess.
With that being said, we had the choice between Democrats and Republicans, and this whole time they're keeping an eye on all these different citizens of the world, especially in our country, to basically see, like, kind of predict like where we will be leaning toward. So we're gonna lean toward Dem, we're gonna lean toward Republican. A lot of people had their different reasons for doing different things, but one thing I noticed is if we're giving Donald Trump another chance, that is something where it's like I could just tell. I had my spidey senses were tingling to say, okay, we're either gonna make that move or this move, right? And stay with me. And the Dems had their time. People have seen enough of the Dems. We got Sleepy Joe. It's moving real slow. Of course, we had Kamala, and that was like exciting and new, but it was like a little too new, a little too revolutionary. But it was either gonna go revolutionary in that way, or it was gonna go revolutionary in, you know, first woman of color, you know, all of these different things were gonna occur if that move would have been made. But then if this move would have been made, so many other things would occur. I think that we would have taken an L either way it was gonna go. But I personally felt like the direction of going Trump was more of a catalyst. It was more triggering for the people. Because it's kind of just like I felt the humans needed a shakeup, and they needed the kind of mass, no pun intended, to be pulled off of our government and showcase what's really going on, so that we can learn how to rid ourselves of this dustiness and gain some more autonomy and just like revamping of our entire government system. And I think that if we would have went more on the Democratic side, we would have been a little bit more too comfortable, a little too snug in a bug and a rug and a dug. Yeah, no, nobody got time for that. So you mean to tell me that this guy gets in here, we got white guys hopping out of U-Haul trucks.
Through the crossroads this weekend, they used U-Haul trucks to transport people into Kansas City.
We got skinny white dudes in khakis running up on people. We got MAGA. We got the KKK. We got them taking away EBT, the month of holiday that is supposed to be basically a symbol of Thanksgiving and togetherness for a whole nation. And of course we know the truth of the holiday, and that's why we kind of try to, I think, celebrate the goodness of it. But I think that the move that we made,
Knight to h3.
happened to land on a person who wanted to highlight the darkness and the reality of the holiday by doing what was done then. You know, throwing hot rocks and hiding the hand, taking away the entire livelihood of a people and just going on like life, it just, nothing changed. And, you know, stuff like that just doesn't just go away. You don't just do things like that in history and nothing happens. So it was time for, you know, the muck to kind of get raked out of, you know, our country, to be honest. So basically I just felt like, you know, it's time to just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. So that's how I kind of looked at it. That's how I still look at it. I think that things will be figured out, but I think that they kind of wanted to jump scare us into kind of running into the arms of the Dems to see what we'll put up with. But when they, make whatever changes are going to happen, I'm not sure what that is. I have my ideas. I may share that. I don't know. If you guys are interested, sound off below. Let me know. Otherwise, let's be for real. These people, they had a list of options, and we kind of just had to like blindly fall into the category of whatever one was going to make the most sense depending on what moves were going to be made. Stay with me now. Okay. Now, y'all are smoking rugs if y'all think that this man wasn't going to try to do something to be the most egregious, disgusting, diabolical, indecent, disgusting, vile, evil human being to ever grace our government system. Okay? Y'all, this man is very ostentatious. He's very, I gotta leave my spot in history. You could just tell by the way he wears his hair. You could tell by the way his parents look. Okay, so I never took this man seriously. You guys shouldn't take this man seriously. He's never should have been taken seriously enough anyway to ever sat on the seat to be president. I think that was the goofiest, weirdest thing we've ever done as a nation. I don't know how it ever happened, how it ever occurred, and how we are so comfortable with people just straight up being criminals right in our faces, taking money out of our mouths, giving it to other countries.
Well, Argentina has officially received 40 billion of our taxpayer dollars. And you know what we got in return from the second home country of the Nazis? You know what we got in return? We are getting our beef from there now. Yay! Oh, what's that? It's riddled with foot and mouth disease. What could possibly go wrong?
Using funds during a government shutdown to remodel the East Wing of the White House for a party room, for a ballroom.
They're paying Argentina $40 billion because they're about to run to Argentina. Yep. After they get done trying to ethnically cleanse the United States, they are going to jump ship. No one finds it weird that the area that they are renovating, that's supposedly being the ballroom, is actually where an old World War II bunker used to be. Oh, okay, that's not a coincidence. Or the fact that Trump now has the authority to pay himself $230 million from a lawsuit from the government that his lawyers put in motion, that he gets to decide with his lawyers if it should be paid out by the federal government, aka your tax-paying dollars. But if that's not weird enough, not only do we give Argentina $40 billion to help them bail themselves out, but then we also decided that we are now going to get soybeans from them. After we just raised tariffs to 155% on China, who was our soybean farmers, we're going to switch that to Argentina. Oh, and we're going to get beef from them and screw all the farmers of America. Okay, so after that, the government shutdown seems oddly suspicious, and the Republicans saying that it's the Democrats when the Republicans in fact have it shut down and everyone is now receiving their premiums, their new healthcare premiums that are going up by like 117%. They're about to ethnically cleanse the U.S. and flee to Argentina, right on Kristi Noem's new jet, allegedly.
This man is basically in y'all face saying, is like gross sistering y'all, deboing y'all, and saying, okay, what y'all gonna do about it? And if we were to take our step in the game and do something about it, then they're gonna take their step in the game, and we all know what that step is. And we know that, and to be real with you, if they were gonna really bring out the big artillery on us, it wouldn't go very far, but they would round up a good amount of people. They would do a good amount of damage before they were stopped, but it would still be a stain in history and a trauma that all of us just would not want to deal with, but would be necessary for our growth as a country. Fortunately, I think that a lot of us don't feel the need to go like necessarily the violent or kind of you know, this weird like warring kind of energy. I think that it's going to get handled differently. I do, but I do think we are being trolled very much so about all of this, if I'm being honest with y'all. Yeah, so my apologies, because you know, maybe we are being trolled to an extent, but the real tea is that they are renovating that east wing because there is an underground bunker there. And you guys know, you know what I'm saying? You know, I know about the underground tunnels. I know about the underground cities. I know about the metropolis. And I think that they should go spend their life there. Go and never come up here. And if you are caught up here, you know what I'm saying? But leave us out of it. You know, I feel like Donald is trying to make a big splash as this super evil person. He already said he doesn't think he's going to the heavenly place. So we know what kind of fellow he is. And I think the Louvre was an inside job, okay? I think that was an inside job. I think it was an inside job. I feel like there's an evil either way it goes on the playing field. Everyone has their agendas. And this leads me to my next topic, okay? EBT, okay? I'm gonna say this one time. This is my opinion on EBT, on SNAP benefits and things like that. There are clearly some people who need these benefits, clearly, okay? When you go in to apply for these benefits, you can receive them, I believe, in like a few different ways, and you can receive them depending on your story. It really depends on the individual situation. My opinion on this is elderly, disabled, automatically should always receive EBT, period. I feel like if you are temporarily not able-bodied, you should receive EBT. If you are a new single parent until your child is maybe of like working age or something like that, I think is like a thing that they're saying. I don't know. My thing is, if people need them, they should get them, period. They should get them, okay? And I don't think that it's that hard to kind of figure that out. I think that you guys are looking real goofy out here when you guys are trying to be all rich. Like, I can't get them and I pay taxes and my taxes are paying for your junk food and your da-da-da. You guys sound crazy. You sound mad wild, like, to even be saying shit like that, because who are you to tell people what they should and shouldn't be eating? Why are you that nosy in people's baskets? You know, worry about what the hell you're eating, you know? And if you have so much money, you wouldn't, and if you were so happy and comfortable in your life, you would not even be checking for what the next person has going on. You wouldn't be in nobody's pockets, okay? That leads me to my next topic, the museum robbery, okay? This is another one of those things that I think is a very much so staged event. That's just my opinion. You do not have to agree with that. But it's just really goofy. I feel like we're all being trolled. Like, the people who have these jewels and these diamonds, they stole them. So this is either a clear act of karma that they're trying to low-key see how many people will catch on to trigger a catalyst for something to be done about that anyways. If they're retrieved, they should be returned to where they were stolen from. Let's be for real, since we're moving things that don't need to be moved. But aside from that, how the hell are they is security checking people for taking videos and pictures and trying to police them, but they can't even protect millions of dollars worth of jewelry? Make it make sense. Ugh. Even if it is a natural occurrence that occurred, y'all should just see how stupid that looks. It looks stupid, it looks dumb. Okay, you look dumb. You don't need to return the stolen gold and stolen artifacts and diamonds and things anyway, so there's that. That's how I feel about that. And fight me. And it's so funny, it's like, what are y'all gonna do with these things? Are y'all gonna take them to your nearest like pawn shop? Like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna give them to your children? Are you gonna pass it down? Y'all can't do that. So I don't know, I'm just curious to know what the plan is. I feel like it's an inside job. I think it's a setup kind of thing to, you know, kind of test humanity, to see where our heads are at, to see how we feel about clear karma occurring, or just like things that are happening that are clearly ironic. All right, that leads me to my next topic. Why am I seeing ads on my YouTube for K? Are we selling Special K now for mental health? I'm speechless. And then in the commercial, they just got the little squares and they putting it up in their mouth. Like, what are we doing? What is this? What is this for real? No, what is it for real? I think that, I don't know if it's just a California thing. I don't know if this is happening in other states, but I am wondering who's up to this? Who's up to this? I feel like each party system has their things that they like, and to me, Republicans, they're just like all like finessers. They're all like slimes, schemers, scammers, criminal-minded kind of people. I feel like all of politics are fine with like PDFs and, you know, all things child and human. And I think that's just like a thing for like the low, like, you know, like the underworld type of individual, broke or elite. I just think that that's a thing that people are into, and you just gotta have the money and the connections to be able to indulge, and nobody's trying to snitch on nobody. That's how I feel about that, even though that's not a topic. That's just how I feel on that. I'm just pulling your card, okay? Anyway, I look at the Dems as being like the really like weirdos. Like, I feel like those are more the people who are like trying to like help kids change their gender and, you know, help make certain drugs legal and just crazy things, okay? Because I don't know, child. That brings me to my next topic. As I said at the beginning of this video, the world is much more strange than we give it credit for. I think it's a lot more mystical and magical and otherworldly than we are allowed to be aware of and speak about on a regular basis, because that part of the unseen or mysterious occult type of world is like another thing that is for a specific, that has been made to be for only a specific group of people. First things first, this is how I feel about magic, witchcraft, voodoo, all that. I think that as a person who is made up of a lot of African descent, I will say that for some of us, this is like a natural born way of being and exercising our life force. A lot of these things came about to protect oneself and to protect you know, waterways and nature, and to receive information from the etheric realms. This is all real, guys. And it's funny because the study of these things are hidden in places that a lot of people won't look, like physics or astrology or astronomy, all types of sciences and religion. But it's never really allowed to be like this normal conversation. But it's real, like it's real, and it's everywhere, and it's way more common than y'all are acting like it should be. I think you shouldn't demonize everything. I think everything has a name, has a label. I think that some people who are more honest about their practice and what they do, sometimes those are the people who actually tend to be a little bit more on a right hand path and just like really non-violent and kind of more trustworthy individuals. So we're talking about Mario on Kai's stream. He came on with his staff. I think that that's a very beautiful thing for a man to do, especially a black man like Mario and Michael B. Jordan, who have come out and said, I practice Ifa, or this is a part of my religion, and this is a part of my culture that I recognize and interact with. And so many people do this. Like, I even saw the video of people on TikTok, I guess, trying to like demonize like black people for doing certain things and having altars and talking to their ancestors, and they were saying their ancestors are demonic. Okay, demonic and demon is a word that we made up to classify a specific type of person, and you guys can look at this video I did years ago on that topic. But although they may be considered that, doesn't mean that you shouldn't talk to them. You still talk to your Uncle Reggie who grabbed your on Christmas years ago. You still talk to your drunk auntie. You still talk to, you know what I'm saying? People are as they are in life, in death as they are in life. So I mean, ancestral veneration, I think is what the term is, that means basically communing with and amplifying the energy of your passed on loved ones. Is a thing. It's everywhere. It is on the money. It is on statues and photos and sigils and in buildings and structures and all these things. So why would you take away the power that you have interacting with your bloodline while you sit back and watch a bunch of people build nations and interact with wealth because they are doing the same things? So I mean, I'm just the kind of person where, child, why would you cut your hand off? Like, why would you cut yourself off from power that you were born with just because you don't understand it? So, you know, that's just how I feel about that. Some of y'all coming from Mario. I didn't even watch the episode yet, but I will just say, like, there's other people that are coming off way more creepy than Mario, like Ray J. That one football player, Cam Newton, I think, football, basketball, whatever he does, I think it's football. He's throwing up, you know, these like hand symbols, and I don't really just trust a lot of people who are doing this depending on how they live their life. I feel like your fruit reflects what you worship, who you pray to, who you commune with, who you pay your respects to, who you give glory to. And I'm not the kind of person, I have really good discernment. I'm not the kind of person where it's like, okay, they're rich and they're booked and busy, so they must be, you know, believing in God and they must be doing good things to, like, no, you don't have to do good things. Sorry to break it to you in today's world to be blessed. Look at somebody's hair. Do your hair look blessed? Look at somebody's, the fruit of their wisdom. Is their wisdom seeming blessed? Is their relationship blessed? Are the relationship with their kids and their family and their baby mamas, is that blessed? Okay. And if not, I might not want to, you know, look up to this guy for what he's doing, but I might be interested in what Mario's doing. He's talking about, you know, tapping into his personal power and communing with his ancestors. Like, ain't nothing wrong with being righteous and rooted in your culture if that's what your culture calls for. That's just that on that. If it's not your culture, then it's not your culture. It's not your business, for real. So yeah. I think that was it, y'all. That's all I've had to say about the things that are going on in our world today, okay? Everything is going so crazy. I try to keep myself separated as much as humanly possible. There's illusions that are being cast all over the globe, everywhere where there's humans, everywhere where there's people in life, and it's up to you to discern on what is real, what isn't, what's believable, what's not, what you will accept, what you won't, what you deem as your reality and what is not. You have power. I think it's super unfair to play this chess game with a bunch of people who don't know how to play, essentially, because you have the upper hand. And there's so many ways where they're just putting things in front of your face, because that's genuinely how it goes when it comes down to universal law. You guys, this stuff is really simple and it's real. It's true. There is no conspiracy theories. These are conspiracy facts, okay? These are facts. They're not even conspiracies, okay? Half the time these days. You have more power than you know. Learn up on these things. Learn more about things that are just not right in your face. Like, the uterus doesn't age, or like, you know, like the ovaries rather don't age or something. Complete lie. Like, sperm, that is apparently what prevents people from having healthy pregnancies. I don't know. There's just so much that we have been lied to about. Learn history so you don't repeat it, guys. Why do you think we got weird old orange men trying to erase history in different parts? Like, he's not stupid. He knows that he's just going to draw your attention to this thing. He's just kind of playing this role. I genuinely believe that Donald Trump is playing this role of, like, kind of like fuck up. Like, big crazy toddler, like I'm gonna knock down these dominoes and see what the effect is gonna be, just to kind of see what how the people are gonna make their move in response. People are just really getting assigned their character on the board.
Knight to e5.
Of the chess game of life, and they just are supposed to act out their role, and we are just supposed to react. It's a cause and effect, and this is what's going to shape our world. If you don't believe me, just look into it. Call me a liar. Look into it. It'll make more sense. But yeah, that's it. Shit's getting spooky. Shit's getting spooky, 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 spooky. So I will see you guys in the next one. Let me know if you guys like this video, if y'all messing with the energy of just like tapping, you know, what's going on in the world. Like, y'all, it's crazy, but it's half of it isn't real, okay? And you should be more focused on your own inner world, because that is where real life is, okay? Just taking money and doing what they want, you know what I'm saying? And just being really evil to really large groups of people. And I think, you know, the Dems, the left, is more of like chill. They're more the hippies, like, oh yeah, we're evil, but like we don't want to kill everyone kind of evil. We just want to do whatever the fuck we want to do kind of evil, right? Get you to consent to evil. And the right is like, we're just gonna take it. We're just gonna trump over you, hint, hint. So are you guys agreeing to robbery? Because I think us just now putting our foot down about prices of things and the way things are ran is like sick, inhumane, and it doesn't make any sense. And some people are only going for it because they are performing wealth, which is fucking embarrassing and idiotic, because that's not how you do it. Paying super high prices for unnecessary reasons is not how you play wealthy. Sorry to burst your bubble. Well, that's all I got for you, so I hope you enjoyed that. I will see you in the next one, and remember, think.